All right, welcome to the video. My name's Jeremy Haynes. For those who don't know, I've been an agency owner now for the last 10 years ongoing. We spend about $1 million to $2 million a month on ad spend between our clients. We don't have a lot of clients. I run a very specific model where I work with a very few quantity of people. We work with typically less than 15 on a month-over-month basis, and we typically do rev shares in any deal that we do. Our goal as an agency is to get paid at least $100K a month when we are in any kind of deal. So we spend $1 million to $2 million a month on ad spend between less than 15 people a month. We do so profitably, of course, otherwise we wouldn't be able to spend that money. I run an education company since 2017, and I have a few e-commerce stores that I also run on the side as well. Although to be fair, the e-com stores don't get the amount of attention from me that they deserve. In today's video lesson, I'm gonna talk to you about a very key lesson. It's a marketing lesson today that has made my clients a tremendous amount of additional revenue that they otherwise would never see. And it comes from a book called Breakthrough Advertising. There's also some lessons in here I'll pepper in from another book. It's called The Ultimate Selling Machine by Chet Holmes. To be clear, Breakthrough Advertising by Eugene Schwartz, one of the best books you can read, but low-key one of the most expensive books that you'll ever buy. In marketing and in advertising, one of the first things that we look at when we come in and we work on a client's business is who specifically they are talking to, okay? In this book, The Ultimate Selling Machine by Chet Holmes, he articulates it as stadium selling. So he likes to say that you are up here on the stage and you are talking to everybody in the audience here. And he likes to articulate that there's different demographics of people that are out there that you can talk to. And he likes to say that you can tailor your messaging towards these different demographics. But first, I just want to make you aware of what these different demographics are. To be clear, the farthest one out in this 33 percentile are people who just aren't in the market at all, okay? They're not buyers. They don't think they have the problem that you're talking about solving. They aren't people who would ever even consider pulling out their money. They would take a significant amount of convincing that both they need what you've got, that your company, your business, your client is selling, and or they would also need convincing that they even have the problem to begin with, that your actual product or service solves in the first place. The second 33 percentile, these are people who might admit that they have a problem that your company could potentially solve, but they still require a significant amount of convincing that they actually are going to solve that said problem. In terms of priorities, it's a very low priority on this person's list that, you know, they want to go out of their way to actually attempt to, once again, solve whatever it is that your company's product or service can do for this individual. They don't really care about it as much. They got other things they're going to put their money towards that just make more sense for them in the here and now, okay? Now, these next two demographics, these are quantities of people that do make a significant difference, okay? These types of people, the audience sizes can typically vary, and I'm going to give you a different visual for this as well so you guys can understand it a little better. But what I want you to understand before I even break these next two demographics down is something very simple, okay? The farther away from the stage that you get, the more money that it costs in ad spend to be able to reach these people in the first place, okay? It just costs more money to convince somebody who's not in market that they actually need to purchase your product and that they need to go out of the way to justify the cost for your specific product or service, okay? To be clear, this next percentile is pretty simple. It's a little less than 33%. It's about 30-ish% of people. These people are not necessarily in market, but on a month-over-month basis, they definitely admit and acknowledge, okay, I'm struggling with whatever the problem is, or I want the result that your company can provide. But same thing, it's not necessarily at the peak of their priority list. It's down the ladder a little bit. So it's still, you know, something that could be purchased. It has a much higher probability than these other two demographics. However, they're still not the most cost-effective demographic that you could go towards, okay? Because there's a hotter demographic than that you can target. And usually it's not huge, okay? This demographic is what we consider in-market. In-market customers are typically the highest probability to convert. These are people who actively identify, hey, I've got the problem that your company's solution can offer and solve for me. I need the result that your company's offering. I want the result that your company's offering. I'm ready to put money towards it. These are people who are literally like money in hand, trying to actively find a company. They're probably researching already. They're searching things on Google. They're searching things on YouTube. They're searching things in ChatGPT. Like they're actively looking up. They're clicking on ads when they get served to them. And once again, these people are literally like ready to give money to somebody within this week, you know, this month. And this specific demographic of people, once again, these are what we consider in-market buyers, okay? Now, in-market buyers, believe it or not, as obvious as it sounds that you should be targeting this specific demographic, you would be quite surprised at how often it is ignored and neglected and how often companies are usually going towards the demographics that are higher up on the list here. So remember, the further out you go from the stage, the more expensive it is in terms of ad spend and the lower the probability it is that people are actually going to convert, okay? So you have to understand, once again, in-market customers have the highest probability to take out money and to be able to say, yes, I'm in market for what you've got literally right now, okay? Another visual of this, and this is more so visually demonstrated inside of the breakthrough advertising process, and I like this visual a little better. To be clear, when you look at it this way, your company has a much higher probability to make more money spending less on ads, okay? Spending less as a company overall. To be clear, in market, then we have what's called probable customers. Okay, probable customers, once again, a little more costly. They're technically on the fence too. They're probable to convert, but once again, it just makes more sense to target in-market customers. And then from there, same logic as the stage, we have these two outer circles, which are just people who have a lower and lower probability to convert, okay? So moral of the story, we wanna go after these two center demographics. Those are the main demographics that we wanna actively target and that we wanna get in front of. Now, how do we actually get in front of these individuals is the question. Now, it's not necessarily always a targeting question that makes or breaks whether you're actually going to get in front of these demographics and sell to them successfully. Generally, it's a messaging difference. Okay, so I'll give you a great example. I have in my education company an offer on how to start and scale marketing agencies. Now, notice I use both there, okay? How to start and how to scale. In the logic of the circles, okay? In market would be people who already run a marketing agency. The already running and already have a marketing agency demographic, they are already in the game, okay? These people already have problems that technically have a higher revenue-driven outcome to solve in comparison to the people who want to start an agency. So the want to start an agency crowd, yeah, there's a lot of people that might want to start one. There's a lot of people that see the amount of money that we make. There's a lot of people that just, see the lifestyle that we get to live and how we get to go about working that want to get involved in the game. However, they likely have less money in most instances. They also, to be very fair, just likely need a little more convincing because they're in a different situation. They might be working a job. They might be in a different kind of business model completely. I've had all different kinds of people that want to start an agency, from business owners that recognize they can sell agency services to other people that they're already selling to, once again, just people working a 9-to-5 job that want to start up the business, okay? Now, these people, they are not harder to sell. They're just more expensive to convert, okay? Think about that. That's what I want you to understand. The people who already have an agency, in my case, I can talk to them and I can say, listen, if you're around $50,000 a month or you're stuck at $100,000 a month and you're struggling to get to several $100,000 a month, let me teach you how to do rev shares. Let me talk to you about how back in 2017, I had 27 staff, 3 offices, 2 in Beverly Hills, 1 in Miami. I was flying back and forth between both coasts every week. I had dozens and dozens of clients. We were working with a bunch of different niches and types of demographics in terms of clients. We were charging, a couple $1,000s all the way up to tens of thousands of dollars per deal. There's no consistency in the types of services we would sell. We would sell to anybody and anything. And to be fair, we were doing about, 200-ish K a month in profit. And, I was stressing. I mean, I had an unbelievable load on my plate on a day-to-day basis. I was going to sleep at like 3 to 4 in the morning, 2 a.m. if I was lucky. I'd wake up the next day at like 8 a.m. and I'd have to do it all over again. My daily problems compounded at an excessive rate, okay? I can never get ahead of my to-do list. I constantly had shit just piling up day after day after day. I never ever felt like I could get ahead in that kind of model. And on top of that, I don't feel like I was making as much money as I should. I was going towards a model where, I thought I might want to sell one day, and I was like loosely taking that path. Come to find out, there was a completely different and better way to do it. I started doing rev shares, okay? So every deal I did when I made this drastic decision, I started charging at least $10,000 a month. Today we charge $15K a month, and we did a 10% net rev share. My goal on every deal that we would do was to net a client $1 million a month so I could get paid and my agency could get paid $100,000 a month off that deal. I wanted to make $1 million a month, and I wanted to do it with 10 clients, okay? So I wanted 10 clients pay me $100K a month so I can make $1 million a month. I was only gonna sell them revenue-driven outcomes. I wasn't gonna sell them any kind of service that was time and effort intensive because I found clients didn't give a shit about that at all. Now, in that specific story, okay, I ended up firing 23 of my 27 staff. I got rid of my 3 offices, just a work from home model, came back to Miami full time, and I live a tremendously better life now. I make way more money, I have way less overhead. I have successfully tapped that revenue goal a few instances. I'm not consistently there, but I do infinitely better than what I did, and I have far less stress. I have way better quality of life. I quite literally feel like when I articulate this to people who are agency owners already in the game, struggling like how I was back in the day, that I added years onto my life again, okay? And I was on pace to die sooner than I should have from the amount of stress I was incurring running it the way that I previously did. And the worst part, I wasn't really conscious of the way that I was doing it back in the day, There was not a lot of intention behind the model. Now, once again, I make more money today, less stress, much better quality of life. I literally have 7 staff today, give or take the time of year, 8. And dude, expenses are lower. Quality of life is better. I'm shooting right now in my second house, by the way, okay? I have 2 houses in Miami. The main house that you always see me at, that I throw my masterminds for my inner circle at, and I also live at, to be clear. And this is just my second home in a more walkable area. Now, to be clear, that specific story, okay, when it comes to talking to an in-market demographic of customers, that right there talks specifically to you already have a marketing agency crowd. Okay, the people who do not have a marketing agency that are inside of circle number 2, well, they wouldn't necessarily relate to that much. They don't emotionally feel the pain and burden like an existing agency owner would who's stuck at like, a couple $100K a month or even worse, less than that, and has a bunch of staff and is just doing a bunch of time and effort intensive stuff, sitting at their computer all day, working their ass off, none of their work gets acknowledged, and at the end of the day, the client, it's the same way as all our clients always are, they just give a shit about the result. You could work an hour for them and they'd still pay you just as much, if not more, than all the work that you do right now, just being completely disregarded. And when you don't get a result for that client, they still don't care about all the time and effort you put into the deal. You wake up with that daily compounded problem list, that to-do list that just never ends and that just grows by the day. You emotionally relate to that when you're an existing agency owner, okay? When you're already in the game, like, you fully feel what I'm talking about, okay? You feel it in your chest. You might be in that situation, you might be close to that situation, you might be on path for that exact situation to occur, okay? Versus, once again, you see me further along and you already know, okay, as an existing agency owner, once again, there's a lot of value in learning from somebody like me for how to make that drastic of a transition and end up getting paid several $100,000 to tens of thousands of dollars per deal per month, okay? You know there's a lot of value in that. Now, to be clear, once again, I want to start agency owner. Well, that's a completely different story, right? I have to, in my messaging, right? In my ads, in my BSLs, in my retargeting ads, in my emails, like in every single piece of messaging, in my organic content, I'd have to talk differently, right? There's different stories. Like as an example, back when I worked at a job, I was a full-time digital marketer, okay? I worked for a well-known sales trainer who's now a real estate mogul down here in Miami, Florida. And I love my job. There was nothing wrong with it. I enjoyed it thoroughly, no complaints. I loved the people that I worked with. I loved my boss. He was a mentor to me. Absolutely incredible position. However, I got my income capped at 10K a month, right? So I was only able to make 120K a year. Now, to be fair, this was 11 years ago, almost 12 years ago now. So I don't know the difference in inflationary numbers for what 120,000 was back then versus what it is today offhand, but it wasn't as bad as what it would be today if you only made 120K. It was still pretty good. And at the time, to be fair, I was hired when I was 19 years old. I got recruited when I was 19. So at 19, 20, and 21, I was getting paid 120K a year, all right? A little less when I first started, maxing out obviously towards the end of that story there. Now, to be clear, I just wanted to make more money. I had all these skills that I got validated in this digital marketing job, and I kind of recognized there was an opportunity there. I could go sell these digital marketing skills to businesses willing to hire me, and I could work with multiple people at a time. It wasn't a time and effort intensive thing like a lot of people working a job think things are. It was just a revenue driven thing. I could go work for a bunch of people, help them make more money, do so in an efficient way that wouldn't max out my time. And to be clear, that in turn would help make me more money, right? I was just trying to exceed 10K a month, okay? I didn't even really have an income goal when I first quit my job. I just wanted to start, and I wanted to make a little bit more money than I was. So to be clear, I didn't quit my job. I ended up, my first client ever paid me 4K a month. I took a 60% pay cut, okay, in order to quit my job, reclaim 100% of my time in a day. I'll never forget that day. I woke up, I just felt like I had a blank slate. I felt like I could do anything I wanted to in that day. And you know what I chose to do for the next 45 days straight? And I'm talking literally all day, every day. Not a single thing else. This is all I did was sales, okay? I just focused on sales, sales, sales. Eventually within that 45 days, I got to $50,000 a month, which was sweet, charging anywhere from like $1,800 a month to $4K a month to like $8,000 a month, I think was the most I charged at the time. I eventually started charging $12K a month, a couple months into the deal. But my point remains the same, okay? I went super hard on sales, okay? And I did an incredible job at getting deals, at making the business model work right away, at just, showing myself I could do it. And it put me in an incredible position where I did exactly what I set out to do. I made more money, and obviously that still worked out quite well for me because I still do it today. I still run the marketing agency. It's my favorite model. It makes me the most money out of anything that I do by far. It takes also the least time out of anything that I've done by far. And there's a bunch of different ways you could do it, okay? Now, I could also sit here to that specific demographic of the want to start an agency crowd, and I could handle some objections in that same story. I could talk to them about the fact that I got a student in Morocco as an example. He was making like several $1,000s a year, okay? Barely anything. He wanted to make more money. He went into my agency program. He ended up closing a deal that paid him $40,000, okay? This changed this dude's life. Fast forward to today, this kid's charging upwards of tens of thousands of dollars a month because he does the rev share model that I taught, and it changed that dude's life. I got dudes in India running agencies. I've obviously got a ton of students in all of the major countries throughout the world, United States, European countries, Canada, South American countries. I've even got a few people throughout Asia. I'm not sure offhand how many people I've got in Russia and different countries. I know I've got Australia. Simply put, at one point, this was like a year into running my agency program, I had students in upwards of 100 plus countries on earth, okay? And to be clear, they were successful, they were making money, okay? And they still are if they're still running that model. Now, it's important to note, that talk, that messaging, right? The way that I'm communicating there, that wouldn't really resonate very well with the I'm already an agency owner demographic, right? It's a different story. It's not as appealing to that specific demographic. It's much more appealing to the demographic of customer and client that wants to start, okay? You see the differences there? So using my own offers as an example to you, I want you to understand something quite simple. When I talk to that customer that is in the middle there, this I am already in the game and I just wanna make more money crowd, okay? This is an easier sell. In addition to that, they're more probable to get more result faster, okay? If it's the same thing on the agency side. Like, let me give you another example so you guys can see how this works on the agency offer, okay? If I have a client who already runs ads versus the next outer circle would be wants to advertise. Same exact logic. Like, I am more probable to make more money and get more of a result for that customer and client sooner when I talk to the demographic of customer that is already running ads. I'll give you a perfect example. I just had a client, they just signed up with us. They were doing about 200 to 300K a month off of paid advertising. They've been stuck there for months. This brand gets tens of millions of organic impressions on a month-to-month basis, okay? On an organic side of things, they make more than $1 million a month already. On a paid advertising side of things, they barely scraping 200 to 300K a month. That's sad, okay? They've been stuck there for a long time. That customer, okay, when they were referred to me, it was one of the easiest closes ever. It was so simple. It was, hey, I got an ad strategy that replicates the organic sales process via paid ads. It would crush for you. Here's 3 examples of people that were in essentially the same situation that you were right now, that are probable to make some serious money, much more than they already are, and look at how much more they already did make based on implementing this. You could do the same thing. We can make you a lot more money a lot sooner, okay? Easy close. One of the easiest yeses you could possibly get. They could switch their funnel strategy as an example, give or take the situation when they're already running ads. Boom, get more of a result, okay? Simply put, that customer is far easier to close. In comparison, you know, I had a client recently, completely different talk, okay? Completely different messaging, completely different set of hooks, completely different everything that converts this type of customer, okay? That wanted to advertise, okay? They get all their customers via warm referrals. They raise capital for a project that they have. They do RV and boat storage. Okay, they never advertised before. It was completely different. I have to explain how advertising works. I have to just explain and articulate to them like the expectations of how different it's gonna be to sell to warm inbound leads versus paid advertising leads. Okay, I have to break down to them and give them examples for things like sales assets, to things that they need to develop and create to follow up with the potential leads that they're gonna get that are gonna turn into buyers. I have to articulate to them the expectations of like how much longer the sales process is likely to be, you know? It's just a completely different game. Now these people, they're still a client of ours. We generated immediate result for them when it came to the inbound qualified leads who are accredited investors wanting to put in at least 75K up to 900K. So much so that I had to actually call the client and ask if they wanted to pull back spend a little bit because I figured it might be overwhelming for them in comparison to what they were used to. A handful of leads a month versus hundreds in the first month, okay? Now my point being, just different talk, different messaging, different, okay, the person who's, I gotta convince them to run ads versus the person who's already running ads, it's just different communication. It's different how I need to speak to them in order to get them to convert. So what I want you to understand is you are more probable, okay? And this is the simplest part of the lesson. You are more probable to make more money sooner with less money spent targeting in-market customers than you are all these subsequent circles that follow, okay? And that's really as simple as this lesson is. When I come into a business, one of the first things I do is I just look and I ask the simple question, who are we talking to right now? And you would be amazed of how convoluted the messaging is in 99% of instances when we come into a business and are getting started with them. A majority of businesses, they combine these 2 types of messaging. Like as an example, once again, when I say, hey, I got an agency program where I can teach you how to start and scale your marketing agency, well, I'm technically on my landing page as an example talking to 2 different demographics, right? If you just go to the organic version of highticketagency.com or you go to my how to start and scale just a digital marketing set of skills, right? You want to learn and master digital marketing, you go to masterinternetmarketing.com. That website also talks to people who are just getting started with digital marketing skills all the way up to like you're already spending a couple mil and you want to master some additional lessons. That program is amazing for both, in both instances, okay? But to be fair, it's like the organic versions of those pages, I can't necessarily tailor to just one circle or the other, or one set of the stadium versus the other. I kind of got to blend both. And then what happens is you'll carry that same type of just convoluted you're talking to everybody type messaging into your paid ads. You'll do the same stuff in your advertising, where and you'll have a specific set of ads, you'll have a specific landing page that just, once again, you just mix both. That should not be how it's done. One of the very first things we do in a business when we come in and want to make them more money is we immediately identify, okay, who is our in-market customer? Who is the person who's right now ready to buy in market? What are we talking to them about? What are we saying? What do we need to break down for this individual? How are we going to tap them? Okay, we'll make ads specific to them. We'll write ad copy specific to them. We'll create VSLs and landing pages and funnels specific to them. We'll create marketing automation with our follow-up messaging. We'll tell the salespeople with a specific way to identify that type of lead. Hey, this person's this type of customer, and vice versa for that second layer of circle. Sometimes you don't even have to target the second layer. Sometimes there are so many people in one demographic that you don't even got to go out to the other layer. Okay, so let me give you an example of that. We had a client named Dan Locke. Now, Dan Locke, we made a lot of money with Dan Locke. Okay, Dan Locke, he helped introduce the high ticket sales. Okay, high ticket sales in that entire niche, it wasn't as big as it is today prior to Dan Locke. I don't want to make it sound like Dan Locke was responsible for creating high ticket sales. I mean, he sure as hell, with the amount of impressions that we got on a month-over-month basis, and with what internally at Facebook they confirmed with us, for the quantity of people that saw our content with our content ad strategies that we ran, I assure you, we were heavily responsible for that. Now, to be clear, high ticket sales as an industry and as a niche, okay? Think of it like this. There's already a ton of salespeople on planet Earth. They already got a sales job, okay? And they want to make more commission per deal, and they want to make less overall sales per month. That's why some people get attracted to car sales as an example, right? They could technically sell 20 cars in a month and they could make more money than what they would if they were selling cell phones in a mall kiosk. See what I'm saying? High ticket sales is a natural ascension for any type of salesperson to aspire to if they want to stay in the sales industry. Now, to be clear, I recognize that. I said, all right, we're going to go after people who are already in sales that, simply put, want to make more commission. And in addition to that, they want to do it from home. They want to be a remote high ticket sales closer. Let's tap into that. Well, the sales industry as a whole, I mean, this specific demographic right here, there's 300 million plus salespeople on planet Earth. That is one of the largest industries on earth that you could go after and target, sales. Okay, now to be clear, because of that large number, there is also a tremendously large quantity of people that on a percentage basis exist in that inner circle. So believe it or not, I was able to get up to like $900,000 a month in ad spend on this one type of messaging, just targeting in market, you're ready to become a high ticket closer, okay? That was the name of the program as well, High Ticket Closer, HTC. Now, I remember it was like a hard ceiling that we hit, where eventually, you know, after we got up to about $900,000 a month, we just couldn't get past this ceiling. I mean, there was just no more of those in-market customers to target. We just kind of ran out. Now, thankfully, the way sales works and that industry works, there's more people by the day that get added to that in-market demographic, okay? There's more people because somebody out there is taking responsibility for creating in-market customers. It's a natural ascension that happens every day. Some industries and some businesses out there, they unfortunately don't have somebody else out there that's responsible for creating customers for them. I'll give you a great example, just a side note. Russell Brunson. Russell Brunson helps create personal brands. As somebody who's sold as an agency to personal brands for the last 10 plus years, helping them scale up their businesses, I'm a huge Russell Brunson advocate because that man, he spends a ton of money on the secondary circle, okay? Russell Brunson is spending money on these outer circles, and he's bringing people into them, which in turn moves and shifts constantly more people to the in-market demographic. That's amazing, okay? Once again, huge Russell Brunson advocate specifically for that reason, because that man takes responsibility for creating customers in a niche in an industry that I participate in. You should be very thankful that there is somebody out there that's the big dog, that's gotten so big, because that's what happens when you hit the ceiling. To be clear, when you hit this specific issue in a business, where you hit the ceiling, the plateau, and you ran out of in-market customers, well, what are you forced to do? It's pretty simple. You're forced to go one layer out. And then what happens when eventually you plateau inside of that niche and you no longer have the ability to target that demographic of people? And you got to go up again. Well, up and out, baby. You got to go to the next layer beyond that. So you don't get in business, typically, depending on the demographic you're selling to, the ability to just constantly sell to people within that specific in-market customer range, unless it is a big, big niche like how Dan Locke's niche was with salespeople. Typically, and at a certain point, you are gonna have to expand to that second layer. And then if you're lucky and you get big enough, you get to go beyond that to the further outer layers of the circles or further into the stadium. And then, like I said, it's very important to note, there's not much beyond that, because that customer demographic past that point, that other third, they don't convert very well at all. They're they're not gonna be people that are ready to buy. So here's my point, right? Remember, you get to spend as little as possible and make as much as possible targeting in-market customers. You have to spend a little more and make a little less when you step one layer beyond that. You have to spend even more and make even less, but hopefully you're still ROI positive when you are targeting that further third layer of customer type. Now, once again, just keep it simple. This is a money lesson for you in marketing. Always go after the in-market customer type. Create specific ads, create specific marketing automation follow-up processes. Have your salespeople know the differences in customer types and who they're talking to, identify them in the CRM. Have specific ads, funnels, body copy, headlines. Make things specific to in-market customers. You will immediately see a difference in money, okay? Now, a little shameless plug for you. You like lessons like this? I have an entire program, it's a 7-week live class. It's called Master Internet Marketing. 3 to 5 hours per class, homework libraries with dozens of videos in between, worksheets, homework, certifications. It's built to help you retain as much information on digital marketing as possible within a 7-week duration of time. Truly one of the best programs that exists if you want to skill up your digital marketing skill set. MasterInternetMarketing.com. Once again, MasterInternetMarketing.com. Down in the description, you can also get week 1 at no cost to you. You can check it out yourself. Week 1 is more mindset as a digital marketer. Week 2 through week 7 is where I get into the real juice, but I'll give you a taste of how it is, how I am as an educator, so you can see if you like it or not. You still get a lot of value going through week 1 to be fair, but the real juice is in week 2 to week 7. Another shameless plug, if you want higher level lessons, you're an in-market customer for me that is already well beyond the day-to-day person who wants to get started. You have real problems that we can solve that are gonna make a lot of money when you solve them. I'd consider you join into my Inner Circle program. 4 times a year we do masterminds at my main house here in Miami. To be clear, we do weekly group calls on Saturdays at 11 a.m. EST. We have a group chat. Average person in there at the lowest makes $50K a month. We have people doing millions of dollars in there. Half the group does $100K a month, to be clear. And they're all striving to do several $100K to eventually $1 million a month. It's a great group of people, rich people trying to get richer. We do twice a month one-on-one calls. That's what you join into if you want my one-on-one mentoring. And yeah, always excited to help you make more money. Hope this video helps. Talk soon.